Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I was first emailed and asked to speak at the October 7th service. For those of you who are here, I should have taken that spot because I'm not sure I could do better than Patty Reynolds' inspirational message last week. I'm thankful for that, but I'll give it a try. For those who do not know me, my name is Jim Pillar. I'm a regular at the 8 a.m. service. I also serve on buildings and grounds, and recently was appointed to the vestry. Today I've been asked to share with you what Trinity means to me as a part of our stewardship campaign, Christ Be Our Light. I'd like to start by telling you how my journey to Trinity began in May of 2018. It had been 7 years since I lost my mother, and the prospect of visiting a cemetery on that Sunday was depressing. At that time, I would say my spiritual self was in darkness. My only participation in organized religion at that time was Christmas, Easter, a wedding, or a funeral. As I pondered my Sunday plans that year, I vividly recall my mother telling us as children that after she moved on to bigger and better places, she'd be enjoying her peace and quiet, perhaps giving God a hard time, but she did not want us to mess or be bothered with that, as she would say, gravestone nonsense. She wanted us to use our energy elsewhere. So I knew I had something to do to honor her, but what do I do? I also recalled my mother's love of Mass. Old school dedication, daily Mass goer. I also remember her wanting us to volunteer and to give back. She would primarily give to the community through food donations, and we were all regulars at St. Ambrose Roman Catholic Church in Old Bridge. So again, I knew the correct answer that May was go to church, but which church do I go to? So I started to go through the checklist of the possibilities. Do I go to my childhood church? The church that my mother considered her own as a child? Where to go? So I was thinking and thinking, and I remembered about hearing about Trinity's outreach at an event in town years ago. So I did what anybody else I think would do, is I Googled it to see what Trinity had to offer. So I said to my husband, John, we're going to church. And it was the first time, and at that time, in 22 years, that we had a conversation about going to church. A new experience for us. Upon arrival, we were greeted with smiles, and we were given a visitor's bag. And in that bag were items that were thoughtful and relevant to the experience we were yet to receive. I was liking my experience at Trinity that Sunday, and the day even got better. I remember Father Bill's sermon was refreshing, honest, real, and inspiring, and inclusive. Almost instantly, I felt at home. As an adult, it was the first time I felt that John and I were invited to worship without judgment. We were welcome at God's table as ourselves. It was a great feeling. Trinity gave us the ability to participate in communion again. So we kept on coming back. About a year later, in June of 19, we were officially welcomed. The members of the vestry gave us a rose to wear, and I shared that moment with humility and joy. And again, in the contemporary world, I made sure all of social media knew of my newfound home. In my heart and mind, yes, I found a spiritual home. I found a sense of peace, and as our stewardship hymn, I found refuge here at Trinity. As our attendance continued, I was afforded the ability to participate in Mass on a reader as occasion. And that time, I would say I was lightly involved, but perhaps from a comfortable distance. And then the pandemic came in and halted it, and we were not able to go to the place I looked forward to being every Sunday at 8 a.m. Upon our return to in-person worship, I realized how amazing Trinity was. The kindness of the community, the celebration of Mass, the wisdom of our weekly sermons, and the church's purposeful inclusivity were providing so much to so many, spreading God's light to so many, including myself. Being back in the church physically made me value what the church program does, the outreach, the initiatives. Those of you in the community that have worked tirelessly to sustain the parish, as well as the leadership that Father Chase has brought to us. To me, this is all God's light in action. God's light within each of us being shared freely, and in turn, starting others to think, how can I then share my light? So, Trinity has truly been a wonderful experience. I'd like to go off script for 1 second. As a part of Building and Grounds, we redid the kitchen floor. Not a glamorous thing to talk about, but it's still a project that had to be done. And while that occurred, I had the opportunity to visit and watch what Derek does on Saturdays, as well as interact with the guests that visit us each Saturday. That moment, in and of itself, is transformational. To see the kindness being bestowed from our community, as well as the graciousness and humility of those here. And they're wanting to just interact, talk, be a part of our community, which was truly an amazing experience. So with that said, I believe as a community, each of us need to fulfill the words of Matthew 5:16, and let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So I ask all of us, and I ask myself, how will my light shine during the stewardship campaign, and more importantly, throughout the year? How can I give freely of myself? To unleash is dependent on each one of us to continue to share God's light. You can share your light in a different way anyway, at any time. If you're not sure how to participate, just ask a member of the church. If you have friends or family that need a spiritual home, invite them to join us. We need their future participation too. In closing, I want to share how grateful I am to be included as a member of this community. I'm thankful for all of you out there that have role modeled God's light in action. It's my hope that I can continue to share the light within me that Trinity has ignited and spread the word on how special Trinity is, but more importantly, spread the word on how special each of you are. Thank you all, and God bless.